right? I had to free up some space. So the deeper layers don't move very much, and other layers, the outer layers, tend to take up that slack, so to speak, and end up moving more in that gliding process, more than they're, supposed to or designed to. So we want to get balance among the gliding layers, and in this case, particularly of the lower leg. So two things you can do. One is a movement exercise, and one is a manual release. And we'll actually go with the manual release first. Looks really similar, actually, to that the heel, the freeing the nerves of the heel thing that we did. It's going to have a little bit more pressure. And let's see, how are we going to do this? We're on a stack of 3 books about Winston Churchill. Okay. So, you don't need to lift your leg up. I just say put it where it was comfortable, and I'll just do it so you can see it. But I'm up. Here's about mid-calf. I'm going to want to squeeze in. I can have my hands either way. Just go with whatever's comfortable. I'm squeezing in and going to the deeper layers. And this will be really different. If you have super tight calves, you won't go far, right? But I want this tissue to be slack, like I'm not tensing it. And I squeeze in. I would definitely crack a hard-boiled egg at this point. Depending on, this should not be painful, ever. You might be able to feel it, and it feels like, whew, kind of a good release, but no pain. And then from here, I'm doing slow ankle movements. So not only kind of flexion extension, but being able to roll in and out. And here's the kicker. If you go too fast, or kind of like, okay, I'm going to grab my thing, and now I'm doing this while I'm watching, Jimmy Fallon or whatever, then what tends to happen is the bigger layers on the outside, the ones that are sort of overused in the first place, end up kind of, move fast and feel it. It'll sort of kick your hands out, and it'll just take over an old motor pattern. We want to, as much as doing any kind of release with the tissue, disentangle a certain motor pattern, and that tends to be sort of nuanced. So I grab it, and I'm going pretty slow, moving my foot. And then I can squeeze in a different place. You can spend 2 minutes on one place holding, kind of having broad contact with your fingertips. If it feels good to sink in somewhere, you can sink in. And that's really it. Spend maybe 5 minutes on each leg. You can grab at different places around the calf. You could do the front too, grabbing this side of the shin. Gets a little more sort of finicky and hard to grab and just weird to position. You could have a buddy do it. You can go to someone like me, and I'll do it, and have my own stuff to say about it too. But that's certainly the gist of it. Again, with emphasis on getting the layers to glide more freely, and in particular to wake up the deeper layers, not to even stretch them longer, though that sort of happens, but to give them some information and go through the more superficial layers, which tend to be more stressed out. Turn on the deeper layers, and the outer layers get less stressed out, and we tend to see things like less plantar fasciitis, less shin splints, the deep posterior compartment of the foot, posterior tibialis, if you've heard the name of that muscle, which is often associated with shin splints. When those start to wake up, these patterns start to resolve because they get a little breathing room. 2, the movement exercise you can do is in, foot, ankle. Really simple. Being able to move your foot at the ankle without engaging your toes, which can sound deceptively hard. A lot of us will have one side this is very intuitive on, and the other that it's hard. So that just means I'm pulling up at the ankle and extending down, being able to turn, going through a range of motion. Again, I often avoid words like range of motion, because if we're like, okay, let me just do the ankle thing, right? We're sort of missing it. We want to untangle wires, having that kind of feel going into this movement. So, be here and down. We'll have the tendency to start to pull with the toes. I'll really exaggerate. To engage here and start to go yink, and have that be the only way I can move my ankle. So can I relax this and have this be just a deep ankle thing? to roll in and out and have that not be guided by pulling, which a lot of us get in that habit, which we could say as we're running or walking or whatever we're doing, that we have this motor pattern of tending to pull more with the hip, right? It might not be a one-to-one translation, but I'm guessing for most of us it is. That's a way of sort of guarding, of moving in a safe way. And what we get with this movement exercise, being able to move the ankle without the toes, is starting to like disentangle again, sort of free up some options so that I get a little more spring